Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to talk about the new trailer that just dropped for Wonder Woman 1984. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. There's a lot to take away from this trailer. First of all, just the aesthetic of it. I think it looks really bright and colorful. Obviously, that going with the 80s aesthetic. Immediately, my brain kind of thinks of Stranger Things, especially season 3, because there's a mall that she's in at one point in time, and even the music. But I mean, to be fair, that's just kind of an 80s vibe in general. But it's just because Stranger Things season 3 just recently came out, obviously over the summer. So it's just interesting that's in my head. But it doesn't matter. I think it just makes me enjoy it even more, just kind of having that parallel to kind of think in my head. But I do like that it does seem brighter and more colorful. I mean, to be fair, because obviously her armor was the thing that stuck out the most. But I mean, to be fair, this is coming from someone who hasn't seen the movie in a little while. I've only seen it once, and that was like around the time it originally, you know, back in 2017 when it came out. So I'm trying to remember, like, because it definitely had like a certain palette to like its color, the entire movie, but obviously her armor stood out the most. But I think aesthetically it made sense because it was during war, and obviously this isn't. So I think that's kind of a nice reason to kind of change up like the palette of the movie to kind of make it a little more brighter and everything, you know. What I also like too is that we don't get too much about what the story actually is, because obviously we see her kind of stopping some bad guys here and there, but like who she's kind of overarching, like who she's fighting throughout the, you know, most of it we don't really get to see. Obviously we get introduced to Max Lord, which I'm only familiar with Max Lord because of you know, he was in this season 1 of Supergirl. If you're unfamiliar with him, he's basically kind of like Lex Luthor. So that's gonna be interesting to see how they kind of fit someone like Max Lord into Wonder Woman's story. And just, I mean, obviously it seems like that thing of like, oh, I'm a rich and powerful dude who just wants to get more rich and more powerful type of situation, because he has a crystal at some point. I wonder, does that have something to do with the mascara? Because we do see a little bit of it like at one point in time. So I'm wondering, is Diana going to go back home? Because I don't think she's been, well, because it might, I'm curious, is it going to be something she actually goes back home for, like whatever the situation is in this movie that goes down? Does she have to go back home for that? Because she hasn't been back home since, you know, she left, at least to my recollection. Because I can't remember if she went back in, I don't think she ever went back in Wonder Woman, I mean in Justice League either, if I remember correctly. But regardless, obviously we see, you know, Chris Pine returning as Steve. The fact of the matter is, I remember like them, I remember hearing stuff earlier on that he was going to be in this movie, but the whole thing, and obviously they're still keeping it a mystery of like, well, how he's back. Because part of me was wondering, like, is it supposed to be like a descendant or something? But I was like, no, that's not possible. But then it's like, no, it is straight up him, because obviously he recognizes Diana and everything. So I'm curious to kind of dive into that, because obviously we see he's here, obviously because of Justice League we never saw him, so obviously, you know, things must not end well. It might, I hope and they might be setting this up to be kind of like this tragic circle that, you know, Diana and him always find themselves in, like every so often, like, you know, there's these star-crossed lovers where they will always meet at different points in time and just end up losing each other almost all over again. That could be an aesthetic they might be going with. I mean, I don't know, we're gonna have to wait and see. We also see Kristen Wiig in a trailer. I think I know who she's supposed to be playing. Like, obviously, if you don't know, because there was a certain character that's supposed to pop up in this movie, so I'm like, is that who she becomes later on? Obviously, if you don't know, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think that's going to be an interesting role to see Kristen Wiig play, because I feel like she's never played a role like that, at least to my knowledge, you know. So I think that's going to be pretty neat. And I also like the fact is they're setting her up to be kind of Diana's friend, and what that potentially could mean in the story and stuff like that. I wonder, is it a thing of like, oh, she's just legitimately Diana's friend, or is it because she's kind of using Diana without Diana realizing it? Well, like I said, we'll kind of have to see, like I said, if she becomes who I think she's going to end up becoming. I do like the fact is we do get a couple like action scenes, and it's just like, has Diana always thrown the thing on her head? I don't remember her doing that at all in Justice League. Maybe she did. Maybe she did it. I don't think she did it in Wonder Woman 1 either. I don't think she did it in either movie, but once again, it's been a while since I've seen either one, so I could be remembering wrong. But I do like at one point, like, she ejects the bullet from a gun, and then she uses her bracelets to like look like she was about to reflect the bullet. Dude, I like Diana's fighting style, because she has a very unique fighting style, especially when you incorporate like the lasso of truth into it as well, which, oh my god, we saw her literally lassoing lightning to get around. I was like, that is sick, which makes me wonder, since like, is that going to be referencing to the fact is that her dad's going to pop up this movie or not? maybe not. It kind of made me wonder in that regard. But I mean, because I mean, once again, like her lassoing lightning, it kind of makes sense. I wonder if her dad wasn't her dad, you know, would she be able to do that, or is it just because her dad is who he is, she's able to do that? I wonder if she's going to incorporate that into, like, I mean, because I've never known her to throw lightning or anything like that, but maybe she can. I don't know. Maybe it's just because of what the lasso of truth can do. Maybe that just allows her to do it. So maybe it has nothing to do with who her dad is, but nevertheless. And there's also this beautiful shot of her with the full-blown armor, because obviously, like, the promotional photos we've seen of her with the armor on has been without the wings, which I saw the wings, I was like, holy crap. But because we've only seen like the torso area of the armor, but to see kind of like almost the entire armor like that was pretty badass. She looks very, because immediately I saw that, I was like, oh man, she looks kind of like a Valkyrie. But then I was like, Valkyries are a Norse mythology thing, aren't they? And the only reason why I'm saying that is just because of the most recent God of War game has that in my head, because obviously that entire game based around Norse mythology. But maybe there's a version of Valkyries that exists in Greek mythology too. Well, because I know harpies are a thing in Greek mythology, so I'm wondering, is that more supposed to be? But look, I don't know, like the wings and everything and just the armor makes me think Valkyrie. Like I said, this could be just a thing of like they mix and match a lot of mythologies, you know. It might be that thing of like certain aspects of other certain mythologies are, you know, maybe they're all one thing but they're kind of treated as separate things. So maybe in this continuity, Greek and Norse mythology are actually kind of the same thing. They pull from the same thing, just different interpretations. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Like I said, maybe there is Valkyries in the Greek mythology, or maybe that, like I said, I said it looks like a Valkyrie thing, but maybe it isn't at all. Maybe it's going to be something else. But the armor looks dope. Like I said, I appreciate the fact is that there's not a lot in the trailer to kind of tell you like what exactly everything, like what's 100% going down. We'll probably find out a little bit more in trailer 2. We'll probably reveal more of the story, but this was more so than anything giving us some action shots, a lot of like Diana and Steve spending time together. So I think that's pretty dope. I'm curious to kind of find out, you know, what goes down in this, you know, next chapter of Diana's story. And it's so interesting considering the fact is we're getting her story out of order. First we got in Batman v Superman introduction to her. Then we got her movie, which takes place around World War II. And then the fact of the matter is now we had Justice League, you know, present day, and now we have her in 1984. So I appreciate the fact is that her story is literally bouncing all around her timeline, especially considering the fact is that, you know, she's able to live as long as she does. So I think that's a pretty neat aspect that I think we'll probably only really get with Diana. I mean, you know, they're kind of doing that a little bit with other superheroes, but I think her story lends itself more so to kind of being able to bounce around the cotton, you know, around the timeline essentially, you know, so what would they set up. So I think it's just an interesting thing, and I'm interested to kind of see, you know, what they end up doing with it and where this all ends up taking us on, you know, like I said, this next chapter, Diana's adventure. Makes me wonder if they're going to set up a whole Wonder Girl situation. Once again, it's just that DC thing of like, I don't know if they'll do certain things just because like because obviously if you haven't watched Titans, Wonder Girl, obviously in that continuity, is a Titan and everything. So I'm wondering, is that something they're going to play around with in the movies or not? Maybe that's something they're not setting up this early. Maybe they will later on. Hell, that might even be how the Themyscira aspect plays into this, is, you know, the whole Wonder Girl situation, Donna Troy. But, you know, like I said, well, obviously these are just my thoughts. In the comments down below, I love to get to know yours. Did you like the trailer? What are some things you want to see from Wonder Woman 1984? What are some things you expect to see? Let me know your thoughts. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, we'll like to the fullest and enjoy it. Good day and good